Hey Connor, my name is Bryce, and for our brochure, we were talking about the muscular system and muscular dystrophy. Now, what's interesting about this is that there are three types of muscles in the body, and these things consist of the skeletal, which is more of like a striated kind of feeling and look. There's smooth, and there's cardiac muscle. So, with the skeletal muscle, which is things that are attached to the bones, so for example, like your bicep or whatever, that'd be an example, or your triceps. Um, these are actually responsible for skeletal movements, so doing things such as like this and stuff like that. And they're also when we do this stuff, like we move these kind of muscles, it's actually under conscious or it's voluntary control. So no one, your body just isn't going to go like this randomly. You know what I mean? So it's if you want to move it, you got to do it yourself, kind of thing. Now the other group, which is smooth muscle, this muscle is actually found in walls of hollow internal organs. The functions for this are actually involuntary, so they cannot be controlled consciously. So these things are just going to contract and such, like just on its own, kind of thing. And then for the last group, this is cardiac muscle. Now, what's interesting about this is that it's found in the walls of the heart, cardiac, which is, that's what it means. But the interesting thing about this is actually there's one central nucleus, like smooth muscle, but it's also striated like skeletal muscle. So, in a way, it's kind of like combining the two into one, essentially. With this, the contraction of the cardiac muscle is involuntary and it's strong and rhythmical. So, with that being said, it's something that we can't control. It's strong, and with the rhythm, it's going to keep going at that same pace. So it's like boom, 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 kind of thing.
Functions of the muscular system include moving the body, maintaining posture, internal transport of fluids or bodily functions, and generation of heat. The muscular system can be divided into voluntary and involuntary muscles. Voluntary muscles are under our control, such as our skeletal muscles. Involuntary muscles are not under our control, such as our cardiac muscles and muscles in the digestive tract, bladder, uterus, and blood vessels. Nearly all movement in the body is the result of muscle contraction. The integrated action of joints, bones, and skeletal muscles produces obvious movements such as walking and running. Muscle contraction also fulfills other functions such as posture, joint stability, and heat production. The body's skeletal muscles can be broken down into large muscle groups. These groups work in a coordinated fashion to control the movements of the human body. These large muscle groups include the neck, back, shoulder, arm, wrist, hand, abdomen, hip, upper leg and knee, and the lower leg and foot. The motion of the neck is described in terms of rotation, flexion, extension, and side bending. The back contains the origins of many of the muscles that are involved in the movement of the neck and shoulders. The shoulder is a complex ball and socket joint comprising the head of the humerus, the collarbone, and the scapula. The shoulder's main motions are flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, internal rotation, and external rotation. In addition to aiding the movement of the shoulder, the muscles of the upper arm produce various movements of the forearm. The motion of the wrist is called wrist flexion, which refers to the movement that draws the palm of the hand downward. The hand is a complex structure that is involved in fine motor coordination and complex task performance. Its muscles are generally small and extensively innervated. There are three muscular layers of the abdominal wall, with a fourth layer in the middle anterior region. The hip joint is a complex weight-bearing ball and socket joint that can sustain considerable load. The movements described in this section include flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction. Extension of the knee is accomplished by a group of muscles collectively referred to as the quadriceps femoris, which increases the angle of the knee, bringing the lower leg into a straight position. The muscles of the lower leg and foot are complex and work in many planes. Their actions depend on whether the person is bearing weight as well as on the position of the foot.
Muscular dystrophy is a progressive disease caused by a mutation in someone's genes. The faulty genes fail to produce an important protein known as dystrophin, which is necessary to create healthy muscle tissue. There are many different kinds of muscular dystrophy, depending primarily on when symptoms first appear and the rate of muscle degeneration. The most common kind of MD is known as Duchenne muscular dystrophy. In healthy muscle tissue, the dystrophin protein works as a binding agent that holds the different layers of muscle tissue together when a muscle is contracting or extending. In a person with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, The dystrophin protein is too short, so it does not bind the layers of the muscle tissue together. Because of this, every time the muscle contracts or extends, small tears occur within the muscle membrane. Over time, these tears lead to the eventual death of muscle cells. As muscle damage occurs, the body tries to replace the damaged cells, but often cannot keep up, and instead of dead or damaged muscle cells being replaced with new muscle cells, they are often replaced with fat and scar tissue. Fat and scar tissue cannot contract or extend in the same way that muscle tissue can, which causes the muscles to weaken over time. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is more common in boys than girls because it is an X-linked mutation. Since females have two X chromosomes, a faulty dystrophin gene in one of them is unlikely to cause muscular dystrophy because the other X chromosome acts as a backup to produce a healthy dystrophin protein. Males, however, only have one X chromosome, meaning that if the dystrophin gene is faulty, the dystrophin protein will be damaged or not produced at all. Diagnosis of muscular dystrophy includes blood tests to look for the presence of an enzyme known as creatine kinase, which is present in the blood when muscle damage is occurring. Genetic testing can also be used to determine if there is a faulty dystrophin gene present on the X chromosome. Symptoms of Duchenne muscular dystrophy usually begin to appear in early childhood, around age 2 or 3. These include things such as frequent falling, difficulty getting up from either a laying or sitting position, trouble running, trouble jumping, and the child walking on their toes. One of the most classic signs of Duchenne muscular dystrophy is known as the Gower sign. In this, a child will rely on their upper body strength, pushing on their hands and arms in order to stand up because their leg muscles are too weak. As the disease progresses, the child may develop larger than normal calf muscles due to the increased amount of fat and scar tissue. They may experience muscle pain and stiffness, delayed growth, and some learning disabilities. Without treatment, a child with muscular dystrophy will likely lose the ability to walk by their early teens due to weakening leg muscles and the progressive curvature of the spine, a condition known as scoliosis, caused by the weakening of back muscles that normally maintain posture. This causes the child to become wheelchair dependent. Without treatment, a child with Duchenne muscular dystrophy has a life expectancy of about 30 years. This is because, since the heart and diaphragm are also muscles, this disease will also affect these muscles, causing the eventual failure of the cardiac and/or respiratory systems. It is estimated that Duchenne muscular dystrophy occurs in anywhere from 1 in 3,500 male births to 1 in 5,000 male births. Possible treatments for Duchenne muscular dystrophy include physical therapy and the use of supportive aids, steroid medication, and surgery to correct problems such as scoliosis that result from the disease. There is also some research on gene therapy and attempts to alter or fix the damaged dystrophin gene. The main goal of physical therapy as a treatment for Duchenne muscular dystrophy aims at slowing down the progression of the disease. It has been shown that mild, low-intensity exercise done 5 days a week for 15 to 30 minutes can slow down muscle damage and weakening. Since the disease is progressive, another goal of therapy is to help the child learn how to accomplish their daily tasks in new or different ways as modifications are necessary. Therapy can also be used to help children adjust to using supportive aids such as leg braces, walkers, or wheelchairs when these become necessary. Currently, the gold standard medication for DMD is corticosteroids such as prednisone and deflazacort, which can help build muscle strength and slow disease progression. However, these drugs have long-term side effects including weight gain and weakening of bones, leading to increased risk of fractures. There are new drugs currently being evaluated and tested for effectiveness. Surgical options for DMD include procedures to correct scoliosis caused by the weakening back muscles, which may also improve lung and respiratory function, and some cardiac interventions, such as the implantation of a pacemaker to aid in the heart function. Although still in its early stages, gene therapy looks to correct the faulty dystrophin gene that causes the dystrophin protein to be too short by bypassing the stop code within the genetic sequence. While there has been great progress made in recent years, there is currently no cure for Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Each of these treatments only work to slow down disease progression and help with daily life. It is therefore important to have the support of a good medical team in order to have the best treatment available for the child and whatever problems they may develop as the disease progresses. Finally, the Muscular Dystrophy Association has done a lot of work in increasing awareness of the disease, helping affected children and parents find support groups and medical professionals, and raising money for continued research.